Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, welcome to our presentation in the online version of the World Literacy Summit 2020, which should be in Oxford, but is currently wherever we are in the world. Well, here we are at the World Literacy Summit 2020 virtual version. My name is Conor O'Byrne, and together with my wife Emma, I am the CEO of Happy Readers Zimbabwe. And we're going to be talking to you today about improving girls' literacy in Southern Africa, changing lives, saving lives, and uplifting the community. We're going to be talking about real-life observations and outcomes from the work we do in Africa. So let's all start first with Happy Readers. Who are we and what do we do? We're a hands-on, family-run organisation. We have an author, who was my mother, who had 40 years of language teaching and curriculum development in Southern Africa. We started this in 2010, so we've been doing this for about 10 years. And why do we do this? Well, we're dedicated to developing reading and literacy with comprehension in Africa. Following our themes of comprehension-based questions, where do we operate? At the moment, Zimbabwe, Zambia and Malawi. What do we do? Well, we have a literacy scheme that you see here, which is a graded scheme of pupils' books, starting from very simple alphabetic, phonics, etc., and gradually building more and more complex levels of vocabulary, English and fluency. We combine all that with a set of teachers' resources to help the teachers. We have monitoring tools, testing tools, and we put the whole thing together in a methodology that we use every time we implement. And these are designed specifically for the African context, and we always work very closely with the Ministry of Education in everything we do. How many? Well, the scheme is in use in over 1,000 rural primary schools. We've distributed over 500,000 books and modules. We've personally trained over 5,000 teachers, and we have proven reach of over 1 million children. So let's measure the impact. And let's first start off with the numbers. I'm going to show you results from 3 different projects in 3 different countries, in 3 different systems and language policies, but using the same materials, methodology, and training. And we're showing results after about 18 to 24 months using the same test measurements in each case. We're measuring literacy using the metric of word recognition. And what the chart here shows is the proportion of pupils, girls in this case, who met the literacy threshold on word reading at the start. In Zimbabwe, when we began, it was 46%, in Zambia it was 15%, and in Malawi it was 24%. The population is 3 grades at mid-primary school in the 2nd to 4th year of learning English. And after implementation of the Happy Reader scheme, we measured girls who had completed more than 4 of the Happy Readers modules, and we saw that we had improved the literacy levels up to 93% in Zimbabwe, 80% in Zambia, and 74% in Malawi. And what you see there is that the girls who'd completed 4 or more modules significantly outperformed the average shown by the black line. Now, the harder bits to achieve are fluency and comprehension, because you've got to be able to read with understanding. And this is a much harder measure. We usually have a much lower start point, much lower than measuring literacy based on words. It's much harder to improve effectively, and we often see single-digit percentages, i.e. less than 10% can achieve the benchmarks here. In terms of the measures we're using, now we're looking at story reading fluency, at a minimum threshold 45 words a minute, and comprehension, can they answer 3 or more questions correctly out of 5 to show they've understood what they have read, because that is, after all, the point of reading. And this was a project in Malawi, and that's the actual classroom, one of the classrooms. That class has 283 children in a single class, with 1 teacher, 1 session. No desks, no chairs, no posters, no nothing. Although they did have some reading materials from an earlier project. And when we started, the proportion that could meet the story reading fluency threshold was 7%, and when we tried to combine that with comprehension understanding, it was only 5% of the pupils in those middle grades could actually achieve that. In terms of interim results after a year, we were able to improve that to 54% making the fluency benchmark and 37% meeting the comprehension one. When we measured average fluency, when we started it was 16.4 words a minute, which kind of corresponds with some other independent testing done after these very large literacy interventions, and at the end of it we'd raised it to 51 words per minute. Now I want to look at this correct words per minute score. What does it mean? Right? It's a very commonly used metric, and what I want to show you is a quick video clip of 3 different readers reading at different speeds.
This airplane is going to Africa. No, you can come with us. We are going to fly to Africa.
Okay, so there you see 3 different readers. The first one that is reading at a very basic level. He is reading at the threshold of 45 words a minute, but he's still struggling a bit. And really we would expect him to have a higher speed in order to really read with understanding. The second reader is slow, hesitant, and the key thing we see there, she lacks confidence, reads very quietly, and she's reading at 13 correct words a minute. And reader C is fluent, accurate, reading at 115 words a minute, which is far more what we would like to see children reading so they can understand. And there is a 4th category that those of us familiar with doing literacy tests in these environments is that of the complete non-reader who cannot read any words at all. And unfortunately, it's often a very, very high proportion of children tested, and these are readers we really, really need to address and get them onto the reading ladder. Now let's look at the impact of reading in the own words of girls when they were interviewed. And to do this, we interviewed about 200 pupils, 200 teachers and 36 heads from the same schools as the project that we showed in the earlier slides under Zimbabwe. And the comments that came back were varied and numerous, but the common themes were improved English, better reading, writing, comprehension skills. What also came through was they felt more confidence. They had more reading fluency, it was more fun, they liked reading, and they said it makes me happy. In terms of impacts on the school environment, heads reported improved attendance and significantly improved effects on their school work. And what came through overall was a vast improvement in their sense of self-worth. And there's a comment there from a teacher who said about one particular girl that she was a non-reader, but now is in the top 20 pupils in the class. Now she can read. So how can literacy improve a girl's life in rural Africa? Well, education is very much the opportunity, but good literacy is essential, but very hard to achieve. And there are many barriers and obstacles to achieving literacy and education. If you look at the sort of environments, you've got no money, you've got poverty, subsistence level existence, and in the school environment they've got no resources, they've got a huge lack of learning materials, you've got crowded classrooms like we saw in Malawi, you've got few teachers for the number of kids, and they've got different levels of qualification and different levels of motivation. And then you also have external factors like use of child labour for farming, particularly at the harvest time. Kids are required to help and they miss a lot of school and they fall further and further behind. Now those are barriers that are faced by any child, but it's even more difficult if you're a girl, right? There are prejudices against the importance of girls' education. And then girls facing all those barriers, they also face issues like early childhood marriage and pregnancy, you've got child protection issues, abuse, trafficking, and you've got this whole issue of body literacy, which is understanding your body so that you can better manage and take control of the effects. But of course, good body literacy depends on good reading literacy as well. And it leads girls into the area of menstrual management, which can have a huge detrimental effect on their ability to gain the most of education. And I'd like to quote here Anne Cotton, the founder of CAMFED, who said, "Educating girls is the single most effective way to overcome the barriers blocking Africa's development." And I think that's an extremely good sentiment. So if we can use literacy to inform, educate and empower girls, we believe that reading releases the power within every child. So in our books, in the themes that we build into our schemes, as well as developing the technical reading skills of letter recognition, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, etc., we also build themes that are relevant to girls. We have things like sustainable livelihoods and self-reliance. we developed a book with Halo Trust on landmine risk education in former conflict zones. And this is literally saving lives by teaching children the dangers of landmines that may be in the ground close to where they go to school. We then bring in aspects of early childhood marriage, child protection, abuse, trafficking, and particularly we bring in our latest book on menstrual management. And there was a project done in Malawi where they measured 1,000 girls who were losing 18,000 school days a year due to menstruation, or more strictly speaking, lack of good management of menstruation. That was reduced by 97% in 1 year through the use of menstrual cups, which are a fantastic product for really giving girls far better control. But education is a key to behaviour change, was one of the key findings of this project. So we brought in our new book called Pamela Pangolin Has Her Period, which covers this in a story form so girls can actually discuss it. Now, we talk about issues that affect Africa, but what we also have are global issues, particularly climate change and planet pressure. There is a population surges. It is predicted that between 2010 and 2040, the population of Africa will double, adding an extra billion people, which is going to place more and more strain on already constrained resources and the environment. So we bring in to our literacy books many of these global issues. We do climate change, particularly climate adaptation in the area of agriculture. We have stories on deforestation, protecting and preserving the environment, and wildlife conservation and anti-poaching using our wild animal characters, elephants, rhinos, pangolins, etc. So to summarise what we find in our experiences, we believe that improving girls' literacy in Southern Africa can change lives, and save the planet. Thank you.